But of course, this player dominated their history for the previous year and a half before that. He really is the historical favorite. Let's see if he can show what he's made of. In the top right, in the blue, it is Dream.
And of course, taking on in the bottom left-hand side of Pillars of Gold, our red Protoss player from Alpha X is Astrea.
As I said, you know, the historical win rate is there for Dream, but recently Astrea has upped his game. He had a very close best-of-9 show match with Beyond recently. Honestly, Astrea's PvT, he's been looking just more and more solid. There was a season finals match, I think it was, against Maru last year, where it was kind of funny to watch Twitch chat go, "Oh, he's getting hammered. This American guy's getting hammered by Maru, our boy, yeah." And I was like, are you guys looking at the supply or not? Because Astrea was like, yeah, he was getting punched, but he was absorbing so many waves of Maru's attacks, and he just kept expanding and microing in the midst of it. So I actually feel like he's continuing to evolve and grow stronger. And I think every tournament we see Astrea, I'm just a little bit more and more encouraged by his progress.
And I remember that game as well because it did feel as though Maru was just all over him, but then we're like, hang on a sec, we're like 15 minutes deep and Astrea's still doing great on supply. Yeah, it really was a testament to just how good he is. Man, look at Dream, though. He's going to open this series up with something very, very weird. Not just proxy in the barracks, but proxy in the factory as well. He is going all-out aggressive. Reactor on the barracks, too. This is a real committed one-base situation from Dream.
Yeah, and with the Marine straight into the Reactor, I mean, it's going to be a Hellion probably drop. Could be Hellions into the Burrowed Widow Mines, I believe, is usually, or not Burrowed Widow Mines, but, you know, the Armory Widow Mines, the ones that stay invisible after the initial Hellion attack. So there's a few ways you can do this. As Astrea, I feel like the safest and best way is actually to get a quick second gateway just to get more material out. A Stargate with a Phoenix could do the trick, but it's so damned fast that this is going to get in there. You've got to have a shield battery in each of your mineral lines, and I think keeping this probe alive for as long as he did is somewhat important because he saw no factory, no barracks at home. He knows that he's got to be at high alert.
I'm really intrigued by this barracks going home. Astrea is not quite going to see that, but just help him figure out exactly what this is. Obviously, we can see now this is going to be a Hellion drop and maybe not much else beyond that, but again, Astrea is in the dark to that as well. I love the 2 extra gateways. Like you said, just get material on the ground. I think it is a very easy way to deal with something like this because then you just have, you know, you can't go wrong really by just having more stuff. Whereas if you start to make maybe a Phoenix or so and Dream goes for like an anti-Stargate set with like a, you know, Cyclone and a Viking Marine push, then you're in a lot of trouble. I like this approach from Astrea, and getting the Robo up as a follow-up will give him information to follow this up, and also the potential to go across the map with his unit count and maybe make something happen via the Warp Prism. So a lot of options, and maybe even, you know, if you want to get even more defensive, if you need to get more defensive, the Immortal production as well. It's actually going to be great here because you can see that Armory coming in with Widow Mines in production now. This is going to be multiple layers of harassment. Start with Hellions and then into those cloaked up Widow Mine drops.
Oh, nice. Probe Scout sees where it's coming from. That's very important. Anything to get just a little bit of warning of exactly what's going on. Stalker's a little slow to get up here, though. The Hellions, oh, those probes are so awfully stacked right now. Astrea's going to try and walk through. Nice dodging so far, but 4 probes go down. Ooh, nice force field. What a trap.
Yeah, beautiful play from Astrea. Okay, it took a little while to get Stalkers up into the main base, but once they got there, everything else kind of made sense. Here comes the next wave, though. Widow Mine's going to start to burrow up, and they are going to cause a little bit of an annoyance here as the probe will give itself up. There's still 1 Widow Mine left. Hopefully Astrea knows that. I think he does. And he's got the Observer on the way, so he will deal with this very soon. Interesting enough, he didn't give up another probe much sooner to already go back to mining, so really has been denied from mining for a long time there. So this is still a bit of a win from Dream. The biggest problem of all is just because this was so committed on one base initially, it probably hasn't still done enough. It's not like he's just produced enough 2 CCs. It's not like he's got double mule in play. He kind of needed more for just how quickly he tried to get this into Astrea's base.
You're absolutely right. I mean, that command center is not even done yet. So this is a sort of build order that is such a heavy commitment, and it's such a big risk as well. I mean, we even sometimes see players crumble under counter-aggression, where they're setting up for the Hellion drop and it's like 2 Stalkers come across the map and just kill them. And it's really not a safe opening by Dream. It's something that he wants to get in there and cause a lot of chaos. He wants those Widow Mines to hang around for a while without being detected. But Astrea knew exactly what he was up against, and he's doing the trademark Astrea move. When ahead, get further ahead. He expands at a rate unlike any other Protoss player in StarCraft 2. It really is, I feel, the special thing where you can look at an Astrea replay where another player would get some tech. They might go for a counter bit of harassment. Astrea might do that, but he's going to drop a Nexus and then another Nexus and then another Nexus way faster than anybody else. And that's going to get him an impressive economy.
Yep, enough that strong economy. There's definitely timings he can look toward in the future as well. I like it a lot. It definitely is one of the trademarks of his PvT, just being able to get into a very late game position with a lot of money in the bank. I was just talking about the Astrea here in Marine Series, and it was exactly that situation. He'd expanded so well, he was maxed out, he had a big bank to play with. It was just part of his engagement that was missing that game. Hopefully that's something he can fix going into this series now, because right now he really is poised to get into a fantastic later game setup.
I'm a little worried that he is going, yeah, it feels like Splash is a bit late for Astrea. So Dream, I think he realizes, okay, my economy is not incredible. Yeah, I'll start a 3rd command center, but I feel like, I mean, I was going to say, I feel like there's a Marine tank push here, but if he does it, it would have to be without combat shields. And whilst it might find a soft spot, I mean, attacking without combat shields is always a little awkward. That being said, to just sit at home, I think is it's going to give far too much time to the Protoss. I think Astrea is going to be in such an insurmountable economic position. If you don't get over there and do some harassment as Dream, this is not going to be a fair game in a few minutes.
And this is already a 15+ worker difference with the 3rd CC, halfway done? Has to morph into an orbital, has to fly down to the low ground. There is nothing good about Dream's economy, so you're right, it kind of comes down to the army, but what is good about the army? Like you say, it's going to be missing combat shields, it's going to have a single upgrade advantage. Well, okay, that's something. Maybe your best bet is the medevac one way and then the tanks and Marines try and set up another. And there's of course that Raven as well, which maybe the utility from that could provide something too, but we are well on the way now to Astrea having a lot of the setup he would need to defend an attack like this. Charge is on the way, Colossus is on the way. If he can buy a bit of time, and obviously that Prism will help him to do that, I don't really see what Dream's attack would do. But yeah, I am still also agreeing with the idea of what is Dream meant to do if he doesn't attack? Okay, you finally getting your 3rd base up, congratulations. Guess who's already building their 4th base? You got it, it's Astrea.
Yep, he is looking rough right now, and I think the answer here is what you go back to. When behind in TVP, turtle like you've never turtled before. Pull your head inside that shell, put up your walls, and honestly, I think keep most of your tanks on the high ground. Don't even put them at the 3rd. He's just got to try and turtle up and defend, and a little poke here with 3 Adepts, going to pick off a couple of SCVs. Only 1 bit of damage on the others, but it's a very low investment from Astrea, who's just getting geared up to go for the big charge arc on Colossus. And if you've got an advantage, this is usually the simplest way of overwhelming a Terran's 3rd base. Before they get EMPs out, if you can just come in with a giant wave of charge arc on Colossus, it's often a killing blow.
Yeah, I love the War Prism as well. It is low investment, right? Those Adepts are up from earlier in the game, and it doesn't matter if you lose them because they're not going to be that useful later in the game. You want Zealots and Stalkers as your gateway units now. So yeah, why not just make sure Dream isn't moving out, or if he is, you're going to get damage done. I love everything about that, and yeah, as Charge finishes, you go straight into Blink. +2 is on the way. Looks like we're going to move into a 2nd Forge as well. Everything for Astrea just seems to be in place to have a good game from here. Now, there's things that Dream can do, to work around this, right? He can maybe try and drop a little bit. That's one thing that Astrea isn't guaranteed to deal with well, just because he's got a good army size. So there are ways for Dream to get back into this game, and I would say specifically right now, before Blink is done especially, there's not a lot for Astrea to stop drops. He can't, his army is very immobile, and he would have to pre-split it very well, and he has lost a little bit of map vision too. He's got pretty good vision around his bases, but it would be fairly last-minute information that he gets on a drop coming in, because the Raven has helped to deny at least a couple of the observers throughout the game so far, and it's what Dream is continuing to do right now.
Yep, stimming the entire army there for that one. That Marine walkie-talkies home before dying. Says, guys, there's about 20 charge lots that want to run into our 3rd base. Make sure we leave some defense at home. That's kind of interesting now, because Astrea's not looking for the push timing. He's got the 5th base. He's a little lower on probes than I expected. I thought he'd go up to like 85 or something like that. But I'm wondering what comes in next. Is it that Disruptor Dark Templar game? It feels like he's being a little bit cautious at this stage, kind of saying, hey, where's that attack coming, Dream? Move out on the map, please, so I can trade with you. I really want you to come into the open so I can just jump on top of your army.
I love that Astrea's position in the fight, though, as he maxes out. I think the one thing you don't want to do here is to let Dream get up to all the extra tech and max out for free. Because just why give him the chance to take an engagement that can overwhelm? It has been a weaker part of Astrea from the previous series. It's absolutely one thing you can just avoid happening by just being aggressive the moment you max out. Look at the advantage, 30 supply. Couple force fields here don't do a lot, maybe slow a couple units down. Problem is those zealots are all off to the left hand side, so he's kind of set up for the flank. So overall everything might be a little bit disjointed. Doesn't feel as though he's really going to find a way in, so Dream will get ever closer to maxing. That's only going to help him out, but it's a nice snipe on a Viking, and of course it keeps those Colossi in a good position to maybe keep on dealing damage.
Ooh, good choice to pull out here. Dream knows there's no zealots with this army, so he's like, hey, wait a second, you're just trying to catch me out of position. If I jump on top of your tech units, I can annihilate them. So Astrea preemptively gets those force fields down. His zealot's still waiting for an opportunity to dive on in. Observer speed, warp prism speed, and oh, a depth drop plus zealot warp in into the main base. The triple robo transition is on the way behind this, but Astrea is doing a lot to keep present on the map, keeping Dream pinned in on 3 bases and seeing if he can find some SCVs at the same time.
I love that he's got past 3 Colossi, right? 4 Colossi, especially when there's just so few Vikings in the game. These should be able to do a lot in this fight. The Zealots are going to go in a bit of a weird direction. They're going to kind of go half and half toward the 3rd and the natural, and it just feels like it's disjointed. Look at how much Astrea is losing out on. He gets a few kills towards the end with the Colossi, but his supply has just plummeted, and he didn't really find any damage with this. He's only just now killing his first couple SCVs. This was a huge set of losses from Astrea, and it definitely feels he came out worse for wear on that. And like I say, he had a big bank, but the engagement wasn't there to kind of allow him to utilize that bank in his favor. Now the bank is the backup plan, and it's going to keep him in the game.
I got to agree with you there, Wardy. The lead has now evaporated for Astrea, a lack of killer instinct, and I think it comes down to the fact that Astrea is a player who likes to play kind of greedy. He wants to scout what the opponent's doing and then counter that as much as he can. But because Dream just kind of said, I'm going to sit back, turtle up, just defend, he didn't give Astrea something to react to, and it felt like Astrea didn't have the killer instinct to just go over there and exert his army advantage. He took way too long to set that push up. When he went in, it was disjointed, as you said. Now he's re-maxed out, has Astrea, but this big army on the left, he's going to have to recall to save that.
Yeah, he will indeed. Disruptor Shot's going to try and buy some time. First one does okay. Second one hits a couple of Widow Mines. Now he's out of Disruptor Shots. Damage still being done. Bio shows up over here, and he's going to start talking down Colossi. This army's never been that great in terms of support, so the Colossus on their own going down. 3 of the 4 die. Okay, 22 probes have fallen at home as well. Astrea's just... This game just kind of, you said evaporated. That's exactly what's happened to his work account, his economy. Everything has just disappeared for Astrea over the last few moments.
Dude, that was like that moment as well where he at least should have killed the 4th base, but he like looked back at his army, pulled it back, hesitated, and then went, oh, no, clicked on it again. But by that point, just that fraction of a second of extra repair time, Astrea gets hammered at home, hammered on Dream's side of the map, and what turned out, I mean, this was an incredible start for Astrea, and it's slipping away, just not quite having the killer instincts and the ability to close this game out, whereas Dream, an experienced veteran, really, honestly, he was playing a very low percentage situation after that early game, and yet he's managed to turn it into a lead.
Credit to Dream, he really was not in a good place, and he said, my best bet is to kind of slow this game down and just maybe wait for him to make a mistake. If I can defend really well, maybe I can offset that army supply a bit, and it's exactly what he managed to do, as he will take down a pylon over there, so just one less location for Astrea to work from. As Dream looks to keep on expanding now, the supplies are settling down. They're getting pretty close together here across the board. Gonna see Astrea fighting in once again, and Dream, a couple Widow Mines ready to go, and EMP drops down. Of course, this is a planetary fortress, and that should mean that he can hold this position. The Disruptors will say goodbye to a few SCVs, and Dream will now go chasing for a kill or two. The Disruptor Shot's missing, Pig. That's not what you need right now.
Yeah, does get a few worker pickoffs, and he's trying to keep Dream back on his side of the map. At the same time, Dream is now going to move down to the left. There's still a lot of Zealots here. That early, massive mineral bank he built up, coming in big. Astrea's rebuilt his work account very quickly as well. Oh, a huge Widow Mine shot. Splashes every single one of the Zealots. But Astrea's going to pull back to the battery for now, resetting on both sides. But Dream pushing the right and the left at the same moment. And it looks like he should be able to find the Nexus on the right.
Yeah, a bit of army coming from the other side, and the reinforcements of Dream's getting picked away at, so he's going to have to lift up those medevacs and get out. It feels as though Dream's taking a couple bad fights himself now, a bit overeager in a couple different positions, just commanding with armies that aren't enough. And that means that Astrea's taking a couple better trades. And if it wasn't for a Widow Mine or two, I think those Zealots would have been unstoppable and might be across the map dealing damage as well. So really kind of Astrea a moment or two to get back into this, and well, he needed it. You can see resources lost, still not his friend, but at least he's kept that economy up there somehow. Remember, he lost 20 probes, what, 2 or 3 minutes ago? And yet his economy is still good enough to stay competitive in this game.
Yeah, Astrea takes a punch like no other. I mean, I said it early on in the series. He just instantly chronos 5 Nexi all at once, and bam, 20 probes are back out in about 45 seconds. Like, he is so quick at that rebound. But his army is not maxed right now. He's got a ways to go till he's safe, and Dream is staying so active. These giant Massgate Zealot Warpins coming in. Recall as well on this Nexus. He needs to clean this army up.
Yeah, he really does. Units coming from the left-hand side as well, so he gets a full surround in this engagement. The last couple of EMPs, I mean, they get rid of some shields, maybe a couple extra Zealots fall, but Dream gets cleaned up. But don't forget, Astrea lost workers. He did lose some frontline units in this fight as well. It wasn't easy. Now the Disruptors are out on their own on this planetary fortress. I mean, it seems intentional. He has them selected. He's going to fire, and I mean, this is some ballsy play as you just see Dream going to leap on one of them. He'll not get close enough to the others, though.
Yeah, I mean, that was an incredibly risky play, but Astrea trying to make the most of his units. He has rebuilt some of those workers that went down, but still in the 68 and 59 for Dream, and Dream coming in with extra waves of harassment. The lack of observers really hurting Astrea. It looks like he finally cleaned up the Widow Mines on his 5th base on the left side of the map, but these Widow Mine drops coming in as well, and just keeping him very busy, forcing him to put down static defense when he's spread across this many bases. Building a cannon in every single base is damned expensive.
Yeah, it really, really is. As you see, just another little group of units, right? It just feels like there's this tail end of an army every now and then from Dream, which is just never quite enough. Now he gets a few more reinforcements. Dream still having to be the one backing away, and Astrea back up to about 20-ish supply in his favor. Both players taking a moment or two with upgrades coming in, clean out a Widow Mine or so. And for the first time in a long time, you might settle down and have 20-30 seconds without any player attacking anywhere.
Well, we talked about that Golden Wall game, which was an insane kind of comeback, back and forth, both players ahead then behind for like 30 minutes. And we're like, yeah, we probably shouldn't amp it up that much. I doubt we're going to get that again. But somehow, 18 minutes in, as you said, it's stabilized. It's calmed down for a moment. It is a 6-base Protoss versus a 5-base Terran. They're both getting really high on the upgrades and the tech. They're both marauding around the map, looking for control. And it is still neck and neck. It's anybody's game at this point.
Oh, it really is. A bit of a blink up the left side, chasing the Ghost. The Bio responds, pulling him back and pushing Astrea away. In the middle of the map, we've got some Bio units as well. I'm not sure Astrea is actually in position at all to deal with this onto that base. He's got a few Zealots moving over. They might get there to slow this down. It's going to be the main army from the left side gets there in the end, so just about there in time. The EMPs, though, are huge, and Widow Mines to follow up as well. These Zealots are hurting, but there's not enough to follow up.
Holy Zealots, Batman. That is insane. Every time you see like 30 Zealots in a club like that, there's something comical about it. But, ooh, Astrea's massively overextending here, I think. Oh, wait, does he have enough?
Yeah,
is this actually just not enough?
He's got Disruptors on the left side, too. Ooh. Yeah, wow. Okay. I don't know, Pig. Actually, I'm waiting for something to play out here. Astrea's got a bank to work with, though.
I mean, the EMP Widow Mine destroys the Zealots when it lands, but there's just so much coming in, you know, for Astrea. And if the Zealots don't actually get finished off, they do regenerate those shields over time. He's taking the top left base. Dream going up there for his own attack down the left is like, wait, what? Why do you have a Nexus over here? This is absolutely crazy. But Astrea's been so inefficient in the earlier stages of this map, he needs to keep up that expansion rate, or he's just going to run out of gas here. Oh, literally minerals, not gas. is the resource. He's going to run out of steam, I should say. He's going to take the Nexus on the bottom right side of the map as well. But definitely Dream, the more he slows this game down, the more it favors the Terran.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to get up to a good amount of ghosts, maybe even a little bit, extra support in the form of Liberators. So it especially just means that these disruptors become less effective. You can control areas and stop them kind of lining up the shots from a distance. I like it a little more for Dream at the moment, especially as he's going to hit the bottom right. And this might actually be a base kill without the army getting here in time. So you kill off this base. Can you evacuate or trade well with this army that's moving in to kind of shut you down? That's the big question right now, and I look at what the army is from Astrea. I think Dream can turn and fight this, and he will. Zealot's going down. His army gets chased away, and now he's on the left side. Not quite enough here for Dream, but he's already won and done enough in the bottom right.
Ooh, I thought that might be the moment where Dream finally starts just boosting into the main base onto the production, but no, he says, let's play it a little slower, let's be a bit more conservative. He pulls back, then tries to slide down the left. It may be a bad mistake, though. He loses a few full medevacs, a big pickup for Astrea.
Yeah, absolutely. We see Astrea is just going to go top left, though, so maybe this is going to end up being base for base, as Dream still has an army bottom right. The problem is, if you look away at the wrong moment for a moment too long, the disruptors are going to get rid of everything. That's half of the army, and that's the problem, right? You just drop 10-15 supply like that, and Astrea just bounces back immediately.
Yeah, it's the fact that Astrea's economy, though, is looking so fragile, whereas he's got to get rid of this planetary in the top left, and then he puts Dream also to be in deep waters. But right now, as long as Dream has this base up in the top left, he's just mining a lot more. His mineral bank is going to be going up, and Astrea's mineral income is going to start to drop down. So he's got to make something happen here, and I think it's going to be just leaning into the disruptors on the right side of the map. This army pushes forward, the disruptors coming in behind. He might be able to take out that planetary finally.
Maybe he can. Disruptor's obviously great at pushing the SCVs away, stopping the repairs, but Astrea doesn't want to commit for too long. Now the Disruptors get EMP'd, so they get targeted down very quickly with no shields, and multiple go down, and Dream takes a huge supply lead yet again. One Disruptor gets there to force Dream back for a moment, but the problem is the Disruptor count getting reset really opens the door for Dream to continue attacking down this right side and continue just dealing damage around the map in general.
Yeah, that Widow Mine on the high ground doing damage. Finally, Astrea is going to jump on the base in the top left, but Dream says, okay, you're going to escalate the pace. I'm okay with that. I've got Stim Bio. Nothing does a base trade like Stim Bio. He's going to dive in on the right and the left at the same time, and he's going to get at least 3 bases. This is a huge move for Dream.
Yeah, it's absolutely massive. The fight on the left side especially is continuing to go very well for him. He's got EMPs still available. This army of Astrea does not look good enough. There's just no zealots here. There's no front line. Everything will die so quickly, and the Stalkers will not stand up for themselves at all. Here comes some more zealots. It goes back to what happened earlier in the game. Some of these fights are a bit disjointed, but this time it's because Dream is just everywhere. He's forcing Astrea to bring out units in from all around the map, and it's very difficult to get everything in the right place at the right time. In the end, Dream's army gets pushed back, maybe even cleaned up, you could say, but the damage he has done is insane, and he's already attacking the bottom right side, finishes off that Nexus, and he can continue down for more.
Yeah, this is Dream's happy place in this matchup, just attacking both sides of the map with Bio Ghost Medevac over and over again. He's so comfortable in this sort of game, even though it looks scary, it looks kind of chaotic and wild. He plays this every single TVP. He loves this style of game, and for Astrea on Pillars of Gold, I mean, the problem was he was kind of stuck in the mid game, but because he'd mined out his bases so quickly, like, he was so far forward, so exposed on the map, so many angles for Dream to attack from, and maybe just 1 or 2 moments of being a bit more decisive and jumping on one of those planetaries to clear them off the map may have broke a way in, but as it was, Dream just locked everything down. And I mean, honestly, that initial hold where he killed all the Colossus, what a game changer.
Wow, I mean, a huge momentum swing at that moment, and in a game which has been so back and forth as well, right? You know, army supplies have been ping-ponging left, right, center. It's been just ridiculous with Dream seeming like he's going to get the edge in the end. He's now trying to take Astrea's bases in the bottom right with an orbital floating over here. Finds a building Nexus. We might actually have an army clash right now. Disruptor shot already leading up to the top side. Connects on a couple of ghosts. The next bio units dodge away. But that's, again, it's not like we have that huge disruptor count anymore, right? There's only a few compared to previously, and it just means that once they've used up there, there's not so much you can do to keep on holding the Terran player back.
Indeed, just attacking both sides with overwhelming numbers and trying to split his army. Astrea still microing his heart out, seeing what he can get done. It looks like Dream is just going to be able to close this one out with the numbers pushing down. He's even taking the base on the right side off Astrea. He says, it's not just you that can expand on the other side of the map, mate. I can as well.
Yep, no, and I like it too, right? Because so much of his action's been on the bottom right, he can actually defend that base fairly realistically. So I like it. And even if you just get a couple mules to mine for it for a few moments, it's taking the resources away from Astrea that you might get yourself. Those ones didn't work out. Nice play from Astrea. It just isn't going to make the difference. Look at what Dream has rallying over to the other side. Astrea doesn't have those magical sets of units coming in from the left side of the screen or anything anymore, like we've seen earlier, because he just doesn't have that army supply like he used to. Dream has the lead, and right now it really is going to consolidate into a victory with an army splitting off to the left side. One of the last remaining mining bases of Astrea is looking like it will fall very soon. It's not been a good end of the game for Astrea, but it kind of comes down to the fact that he had his moments, he had his chances. He just wasn't able to take them at the right times.
Yeah, you've got to be able to take those opportunities when they present themselves to you. You cannot let that be happening. So an unfortunate turn of events there for Astrea, but I think definitely Dream showed that he has evolved as a Terran vs Protoss player over the last months. You can see that he's found a way to get all the way up into the late game and just force his way there even when the start wasn't ideal. I love the way he split his units up. He dealt with the drops in the main. I mean, that was just awesome play from him.
Yeah, no, I love what a great game to start us off in this series. It really does speak for itself why we chose this series for the mainstream, right? Because I think a lot of people are like, but Rain or Hero Marine's happening. Yeah, but look at this PvT, right? These two are so well matched for each other. The way they like to play, they will just both play late game, scrappy, back and forth. I don't know about you, Pig, but this is some of my favorite kind of TVP to watch.
Yeah, Dream, he creates that action. This is why Dream is so much fun to watch, because he always finds a way to attack at a moment where you're like, should you really be attacking right now? He's a player who likes to stay on that pure sort of bio style. He doesn't want to go into heavy Vikings or something that slows his army down. He'll build a fair few tanks in the early stages, but ultimately his goal is lots of Marines, Marauders, Ghosts, and just pushing multiple areas of the map using his micro, his drops, and picking his opponent apart. And that's like, it's a very tactile sort of StarCraft, I think, where we can just kind of see the movements and feel the real exertions of the players as they're trying to manage many different battles at once.
You know, I really feel like Astrea made things way more complicated than they needed to be as well, because you mentioned Dream didn't like to use the Vikings, and we saw that. He only had like 2-3 Vikings at most at one point, and a Raven when he had 4 Colossus. All you need for that army to work out is to put your Zealots in front of the Colossi. What is Dream ever going to do to win that fight? Well, nothing really, but that's not what happened. The Zealots were off and away somewhere else. They got picked off on their own, and it comes down to that moment we talked about, that game-changing moment where the Colossi die. Those Colossi will never die if they've got Zealots in front of them. Dream does not have the tools to get rid of them unless the Colossi are just on their own, and that's why I felt Astrea maybe was just being a little bit too, complicated, right? It could have been simpler. He had the position he needed, and just identifying that is one of the things he needs to pick up on right now. He had a great start of this group, but it's slowly slipping away from him, Pig, as he needs to try and turn this one around. A win against Dream is, I'm going to say, fairly necessary to have a good chance of moving out this group, unless he really is going to show up and take down Trap and Rain or further down the line.
Got to agree with you there, mate. It's a big opportunity and something where he's got to exert himself here. He's got to show what he's made of. I do feel like if we saw Zest in that last game, 6-7 minutes in, it would have been a little bit of a more brutal and sudden just, hey, let's use this lead. Bam. But this guy down here does not go down easily. In the blue, it is, of course, the Terran player, Dream.
And of course, in the upper right-hand side, the red Protoss from Alpha X is Astrea. Oxide for map number 2. Definitely has a lot of similarities to Pillars of Gold. I know when this map first came around, Roddy was like, why do we have a Pillars of Gold V2 in the map pool? I didn't really have an answer for him. There's obviously a few differences. But the problem for Astrea, I think, is that the differences kind of favor the Terran. It's a little bit more ledgy. It's a little bit more kind of, more positions for the Terran to take tank spots in, right? With the rocks and so on. So I do like that a little bit more. We see a lot of fights around the third base. really being problematic because of tanks that can just siege behind those rocks and all the rest of it.
Yeah, there's some really nice... It's weird because it is kind of this blend of like very hard to attack choke points, areas where tanks can siege up behind ledges and rocks and things. But it's also some like ridiculously wide open areas in the middle of the map as well, where you'll see like mass zealot just come in and swarm a tank bio army and destroy it. So it's got a kind of blend of them, and especially as you break rocks down and open areas up, it does tend towards those big wide open fights a little bit more. But for now, just the probe coming in for harassment. It's a Marine first build order. Notice Dream leaving it on the high ground. Doesn't want to give away that it's Marine rather than Reaper. And the probe of Astrea is going to go home.
That's actually really cool, just not giving up that info. So many people will come down there, try and pick off the probe. And now, yeah, you know, Astrea just doesn't quite know. Does he need an early unit or not defensively against a Reaper? Again, all he can do right now is assume, and because he hasn't seen the Marine, I would assume that you maybe need something to help deal with the Reaper. So he's going to bring the probe back up. We'll see what information he gets. He does get to see the Marine. But again, he already had to make decisions before that information was gained.
Indeed. It's going to be a Stalker first into a Twilight Council. Looks like a very standard blink path for Astrea. Could be a DT drop, is something we've seen a fair bit of recently. People rushing straight towards that. So we'll keep our eyes out for any Dark Shrines. But as it is a blink up against this fast kind of factory in Starport, it can go many different paths. And ooh, the factory actually is building Hellions on the reactors. So Dream thinking about committing to a lot of harassment here. If he builds 4 Hellions or even like a Madman 6, it's a really huge commitment.
Yeah, it was it's just crazy that he goes back to Hellions, right? It has that TY sort of feel to it where it's like, I will drop Hellions in your base until it works. That is my TVP. Because it didn't work last time around, and obviously it was a very different setup. Don't get me wrong, he has such a later command center. This time he doesn't need as much damage, but you're still putting a bit of, you know, hope on those. Now, it's interesting in the end, isn't it? Because it's only 2 Hellions into Widowmine straight after, so a bit of a different approach here this time from Dream. Let's see how well Astrea can hold this off with Blink. Definitely not one of the best openings out there to shut this down, unless you can get the Stalkers right in position right away to stop that medevac ever getting in.
Indeed. Of course, it is going to be a big 4 Widowmine drop, not just 2. The lighter ones that we see a bit more of in the recent days doesn't force as big of a reaction as this does. It's going to be very much about positioning. The Robo is on the way as well, so observers come out for scouting a bit later. But when you see that Widowmine drop come in, you really do wish that you had a bunch of Phoenix out and on top of it.
Yeah. And Phoenix? I'm not sure right now. Has he just missed it completely? Oh no. The Stalkers are out hunting. He's going to miss everything now. Widowmine runs the natural. This is especially bad because if the probe's pulled to deal with that, the Hellion's going to get splash damage, right? Stalkers in the main base try and hold it off, but this is looking horrendous, Pig.
Oh, Dream with a spectacular opening here in the next map. The Aliens are getting way too much damage. 13 probes. Those 3 Stalkers going out there. I mean, this is one of the weaknesses of a Blink opening is you never know what's coming because your observer hits the field so late. You don't really get any scouting. You're like, hey, is this 3rd command center? This is just a Widowmine drop. Is it a fast push? Astrea there going out with those Stalkers looking for it and just barely missing the drop. I'm not sure if Dream confirmed where the units were with his Hellion or if it was a little bit of the stars aligning. Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, it's crazy how that medevac just dives straight up through the center, gets into the main. Loved it as well, just splitting one Widowmine in the natural, because it really did give the Hellions just a little bit more potential on what they could get done. Zones units a little bit. Here come the Stalkers, going to blink up for the counter-aggression. What does Dream have prepared? The Raven will get shot down right away. It gets the auto turret down. You kill one Stalker. The tank now going to deal some damage too. The Stalkers are too deep in to just blink out of the base. Now they run back. They should be able to blink off. Okay, but that was still not amazing, right? It would have been great if you hadn't lost anything, but he's losing even more Stalkers at the end. Astrea needed more than that. The Widowmine drop still active from earlier. That's one mineral line not manning. The second mineral line going to be stopped as well for a little while, I'd imagine. Nope, observer there, in fact, so at least Astrea can hold that off, but he's still not mining the natural. So many problems at the moment for Astrea.
Yeah, good crisis management, all things considering, but your analysis is spot on there, Wardy. Astrea needed some good counter damage. Killing the Raven, something, but Dream is like, you know what? I really wanted that. I'll build another one. He's like, all right, Raven 2.0, that's fine. Dude, I've done heaps of damage to you. I can slow my build down a tad. I'm going 3 command center behind this. I don't need to go do some quick push with this. I just need this to kind of deny observers and slow down your vision. Astrea is going to go charge up Colossus and double forge. So I think that's the right response, you know, play big macro here. It's just that when we get to the big armies clashing in the middle, last game, Astrea up 20-30 supply. This time, he'll be lucky to be on even supply with Dream.
Yeah, you know, it's definitely going to be way tougher, and I love that he rebuilds the Raven, right? It's a little bit comical, but at the same time, you look at the position Dream is in. If that Raven just shows up and disables a Colossus, which is really the stronghold of Astrea's army, if that just gets shut down, what are you meant to do? The Stalkers missed the blink on the medevac as well. Yeah, I love everything about this. Using this Raven for vision too, extra damage being done. Big, has anything gone right for Astrea in this game at this stage?
You know, he's building probes pretty well. He's in his macro well, considering now how the game started. I still think getting a Raven is nice. It does slow down the Terran, but definitely going to be a hard ask, because it feels like Astrea is kind of doing mostly what he normally would do. His adjustment here seems to just be saying, look, I'll make sure I delay the gases on the third base for a long time. So if Dream pushes out, I'm still going to be able to build a ton of Zealots to deal with that.
Yeah, the Zealot's definitely going to help. The Raven was so far out trying to grab an Observer. I feel like that's an unfortunate loss because it has so much utility to bring to the table when it comes to dealing with this Colossus setup. So Dream, you know, the roles are reversed from last game. Astrea is the one who's going to be kind of sat back defending, and hopefully Dream's not the one to miss his opportunity, right? Because he's up a good amount of supply right now. There's not a lot of kind of frontline defense for those Colossi. But it's getting to the point where if you give Astrea just a little while longer, there absolutely will be something more of an answer to what there already is. I mean, Dream's walling himself in with depots and everything. It's almost like he's afraid of the attack about to show up.
Yeah, with how well it went for him last game, I don't know if it's the worst thing, but I agree with you. It feels like there should be a kill timing here for Dream. A moment to go and exert yourself on the other side of the map. And maybe if you're going to go 4th base in Ghost Academy like he is, I think it's still at least try and be active. Try and be getting out there with some drops. There's like 5 Stalkers at the moment, and they're allowing Astrea to feel quite safe despite the situation. I mean, it really should be very rough for him, but you know what? He's got 4 mineral lines up. He's got a 5th started. His 2 2s on the way. Talked about Astrea taking a punch and bouncing back in games. He's well on his way to doing it, and Dream is giving him the space for that to happen.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Dream does this a lot. It was one of the things I really identified about Dream's TVP over the last year or so casting him. He has this thing where when he gets into a good spot in TVP, it almost feels like... I talked about Astrea overcomplicating things last game, and I think it's the same thing with Dream in TVP. It's almost like he can't believe he's in a position where he can make something happen and make a winning move. So instead he's like, right, let's get my ghost and let's get all the rest of it. But that just gives Astrea the chance to maybe get another army up and running. And don't get me wrong, I like the army that Dream's going to get. It's just, could he not have done more? Because even if you just push out and put a bit of pressure on the map, it can slow down what Astrea can do from there, and that can benefit you massively as well. Probes are clumped up right there. They don't get away. And now Stalker's taking hits, leading on to more probes. This drop did way more than it should have done.
Be a warrior, Stalker. Take one for the team, dude. You're not meant to lead the shot back into the probes. That was a cowardly Stalker. Got an extra 4 or 5 probes killed, man. 12 probes go down. The prism gets deflected. Astrea's still going to make it to the latter stage with a DT Shrine and double Robo Disruptor production. He's still going to have a shot to get back in this game, but right now he's still got 40 supply behind in the army value, and he's got to keep Dream back on his side of the map for a little while longer.
Yeah, it means just... It's that stage now where Dream is maxed out and he should be looking for a fight, so if Astrea can just hold off to even out the army supplies that little bit, it will go such a long way, and the Dark Shrine definitely does enable him to do that a little bit better. He just, I believe, EMP'd 2 of his own ghosts. I'm not sure if he caught an Observer or something there for that.
Yeah, he got an Observer, and 2 of his own ghosts as well. And the drop gets in. Not bad, not bad. Prism is going to go in towards the natural as well. This is buying time, but it means that piece won't be on the board a little later. So I actually would have preferred a recall, I think, on that Prism once it gets in the very back. Kind of lure him in there, get in the back corner, do the recall, and then send it back down. Because now you do not have that opportunity. Dream is going to start split pushing. Astrea better get ready. He's got to get those warp-ins going. He's focusing on his upgrades a lot right now. He's really got to finish maxing out.
Yeah, man, it's almost like he hasn't moved in supply for such a long time. He's got money in the bank, so that's obviously not helping him. It's the investments he's making elsewhere. He just started 3-3. He's going into DT Blink, and don't get me wrong, they are all fantastic things, but it just means he needs to buy even more time before he's really ready to fight. And yeah, Astrea, okay, a few DTs in the top left are going to catch a bit of bio. Dream is not really making that kind of big mega push. It is a split push, right? And that might complicate it in some ways for Astrea, but it makes his job easier in other ways as well. He catches half the army here, but he is maybe going to lose the right side base. Batteries and cannons alone, unlikely to help this out.
Oh, the disruptors on the right not being attended. They do throw out the disruptor shots, but a good hot pickup there by Dream. He's going to then unload on top of those units. And Astrea scrambling to defend. He seems to be making a pretty good go of it. Yes, he's losing his disruptors, but his economy is untouched. Dream's supply plummets after these trades, and wow, what a scary moment, the way he pushes down both sides of the map. I thought Astrea was sending far too much to the left, but he had faith in the power of the disruptors and the cannons, and despite being a little slow to fire the disruptors, all things considered, Astrea just held that off awesomely.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think the big issue there was just the fact that Astrea almost read what Dream was going to do. He had so much stacked defense on each base. It really takes away the power of those split pushes, right? Because this was held off by the fact that it was just a few cannons and batteries, and the time it took Dream to get through those was the time Astrea needed to offset the army disadvantage. And now the supply game is even, and Astrea's got money in the bank to spend, so he can be the one to max out first. Off the back of all of this, Astrea is back in this game, and this is what's so great about watching these two. They are both capable of turning games around and turning it back into their favor when it's not been looking so hot for them.
Yeah, oh, trying to get through that choke point. I think a good idea to pull back and just pick away, use those range units, clear the depots first. Dream's answer to this is to run half his army out the left. I don't know if for a flank or if for a counter attack, but oh, he's going to try and jump on top. It is a flank. Astrea wisely pulls back his whole army, very low on shields.
Yeah, I like it though, because the flank makes sense, because there's, like you say, no shields, right? The EMP is already struck, so you get rid of all the disruptors right away. Now your only splash damage is 2 Colossi, and they are just running. Need to get a super battery or something up over here. Zealots at the same time with DT's bottom left. Looks like they will get the planetary, as this super battery is going to try and save the day. The Zealots on the right side are good enough for now. Still trying to jump on the Colossi, but super battery just a bit too good. And again, the Zealot DT attack on the left. Dream's economy is falling apart. Astrea with 90 workers in the game. His rebuild off the back of this is going to be monumental. And I don't think Dream is going to be able to stick in this much longer if Astrea is going to be able to keep rebuilding with 90 drones.
Wow, you know, having the guts to send that Zealot DT in on the planetary while your army is getting gunned down and chased back across the map. Really good play from Astrea. Is that 95 probes? What the heck? Astrea is so rich right now, and having killed the fourth Dream, he's got an army here, he's got more DTs going in on the left. This is just an overwhelming position. I can't believe this series. What the heck? It's both of them just coming back from way behind to take maps off each other. What is going on, Wardy?
Yeah, I mean, as these disruptors fly on in, Dream's army really is just disappearing very quickly, and it's quite clear that Astrea, if not right now, should at some point be able to take a pretty decent spot in this game. He is going to get pushed back. Dream's army supply is actually still higher than Astrea's. The work count accounts for 50 of the supply lead right now, but obviously as long as Dream doesn't march across the map and win the game, that work account should give Astrea enough army to keep on fighting and keep in this. It's interesting, right? I really feel like both players have had the same issue in each game, where the player who has the lead has just been... They don't take advantage of their lead in a way, right? They almost make it more complicated than it needs to be, and that gives the other guy the chance to make the plays to get back into it. It's happened on both sides now. They're both kind of guilty of this.
Great defensive play from both of them, but they've both been lacking on the aggression thus far in this series, and it's definitely a thing they've got to focus on. I think that's probably going to be what decides the final game of this series, and yes, I say the final game because Dream here is a dead man walking. There's Marauders and Marines, but, you know, he's losing his base at the same time. He's chipping at Astrea's base on the far left. It's one of 6 of Astrea's bases. Astrea is getting right in the heart and tearing the Terran base apart.
You're gonna have no production here as Dream, so at that point really is just what's on the map, and what's on the map will slowly be cleaned out over the next few minutes, as there just isn't really that much. He's missing the EMP to try and get the DT, so that's going to continue to slice away. I mean, I don't think there's an orbital on the ground right now. That's a planetary on the low ground, so he can't even scan the DT. That's why he was trying to EMP it so desperately. Now, this is looking as though we are going to indeed get that game 3 on the way fairly soon, Big, because Dream is really running out of stuff. At this stage, there's not even anything to really run around with anymore. GG is called, and Astrea brings him back to 1-1. Such an important series for him here. A win really keeps him competitive in this group. A loss, and then he's got a real uphill battle to fight.
Yep, 14 probe losses to a couple of Hellions and a 4 Widow Mine drop. Not exactly what you want to be having happen to you, but hey, it is what it is. Astrea claws his way back there. Likewise, the previous game, Dream got almost no damage done, and yet he came back. We are seeing a lot of action. We're seeing these back and forth games, and it's what I like to see, but it's also something where I say, okay, guys, we're in the middle of the group stage. You've got to knuckle down, and if you get a lead like that, you cannot be letting it slip away, not when you're playing at this level. Well, we're going to find out the conclusion of this series in Game 3 after a very short break. We'll be right back with the Intel Extreme Masters. Welcome back, everybody, to the Intel Extreme Masters. We are currently mid-series in an action-packed, topsy-turvy Terran versus Protoss match. Both players have looked poised to win a match, and then it's reversed itself, and the other one has actually ended up coming out on top. So we find ourselves in the deciding match, game number 3 on Romanticide.
I love what you said midway through that last game, right? They've been amazing on defense, but their offense has been lackluster, to say the least, right? Both of them are unable to find ways to close out advantages. And yeah, because they're because the other guys are defended, that seems to be their best strength for each of these players. It's funny because that's not really how things usually work in StarCraft, right? Usually to win the games, yeah, you need a good defense, but you need the offense to wrap it up. This series kind of goes against that trend.
We'll have to see the adjustments that are made. Where does the more decisive play come in? Because in terms of the middle stages, it seems that both players are much more focused on getting set up for the 4 to 5 base stage. Well, the Terran player often the one who dictates the early stages of this matchup. Up here in the top left-hand side in the blue, it is, of course, Good Game Gaming's Dream.
And of course, taking on the red Protoss in the bottom right-hand side. Can he take it home and keep his chance in this group well and alive? It is Astrea.
The time zones might be a little bit of a disadvantage since the days of play are starting at about 6 a.m. Pacific time where he lives on the west coast of the US. So he hopefully is a little more woken up now, feeling nice and alert. I mean, he's got that win against Zest under his belt, but did struggle up against Hero Marine, dropping that series. Of course, Dream, on the other hand, was down. This map win that he had in this series, that was the first map win he's had in the tournament so far. He was down at 0-4 in the group stage, I should say, at least, as he did, of course, gruel his way through the open bracket to get here.
Yeah, no, Astrea definitely, it kind of, again, I want to look back at that Hero Marine series a bit. I know we didn't see it on mainstream, but having watched it on the laptop, it really felt like Astrea there, he got 2-0'd, and it really felt like then Hero Marine was the one to collect everything together, go for these like larger pushes, and really just have his attacks figured out, you know? So that's been a really cool kind of, I guess, comparison between the two series as well. But yeah, no, you're right, Dream, maybe for both of them it's such an important match, right? But Dream bouncing back, maybe, if you can win this. I mean, you look ahead, you've already played against, you've got Trap to play against, who's not having the best of days, so maybe that what was such a difficult match, maybe is that little bit easier. Maybe it's still possible. He'd also play against Hero Marine, which would be an important TVT for him as well if he was to win here, but he really needs to win here, right? Like, it's got to be wins from here on out to have a good chance of moving through.
Absolutely, it's do or die. I mean, unless he's got the euthermal curse of, you know, every single year in Katowice being 3 wins, 2 losses, and then not making it through your group stage due to like a head-to-head or a map score disadvantage or something. Like, I mean, the number of times that happened was rough. But as long as Dream can seal the deal here in this series, win the next 2 series, he will be 3-2 in series score, and that usually gets you in the top 3 players of the group.
Yep, absolutely. As Astrea opens with the Stargate, so something once again different to what we've seen previously. I think he's just going to go straight to Phoenix and hold out on a decent 5-ish Phoenix count and move into Colossi. That's what he did against Hero Marine on this map as well, just earlier today. So would be surprised to see him change it up too much. Obviously, Dream is busy playing games at the same time, so it's not like he can necessarily pick up the information of what Astrea did earlier. As we do see, I like the Phoenix a lot against this setup, right? We talked about Blink maybe not being the best way to be set up against this, but he just keeps his Phoenix at home. When this drop comes in, he's going to have a lot of ways to shut down the Widow Mine, stop them from burrowing. He's going to have ways to chase down the Hellions, kill off the Medevac. In theory, this should be a much better defense for Astrea than what we saw in game number 2.
Indeed. That being said, I can't remember who it was against, but I do remember day 1. Showtime had 3 Phoenix. Actually, 4th Phoenix popped as the 4 Widow Mine drop came in, and he picked up 3 of the Widow Mines, and he tried to pick up the 4th.
Maru, right?
Yeah, and he lost his whole mineral line and a Phoenix or 2 as well. So there's something about these 4 Widow Mine drops where if it's 2 or 3, it's really easy to clean up with the Phoenix. 2 Hellions distracting and 4 coming in the back sometimes can get the better of you.
Well, nice catch on one of these Hellions right away. You know, just getting ahead on this defense. the Hellions were a big part of the problem last time around. They got into the natural and just a couple of them were able to do so much because you were having to busy yourself dealing with the Widow Mines elsewhere at the same time. So I think there's lots of vision from Astrea setting up out in front of his bases, doing a really good job of just trying to track where these attacks might come from. And right now, Dream, where is that medevac at? It's not quite in vision of anything yet, and Astrea just pulled his Phoenix away from the right side. They are still in the natural dealing with the Hellion, but it maybe does give this Widow Mine drop a chance to actually get in, whereas before, it was going to get picked up on right away.
Oh, there's a lot of space around the back of that natural. Uh-oh, the illusion of vision, probably even worse. Sending that. Oh, actually,
Yeah,
no,
he brought
the
it back.
didn't tuck it behind. Oh, the Phoenix, but he's not watching. Oh my god, Dream gets tickled and he flies out of there. He's sending another one across. He's doing the mass Widow Mine drop. I mean, this is something which this one, as it distracts the Phoenix, means this other one could go in on the right side and it might find an undefended natural.
Yeah, but here it is, going to make its way forward. Definitely has been acting as a distraction. We're going to see the recoil to get the Phoenix here straight away. You're still going to need some detection as the Phoenix actually recoil into the Widow Mines, and that's 1 and 2 shots. Only one Phoenix going down. A little bit fortunate with which one's got targeted there as well. A probe nearly brought death to all the other probes as well.
Ooh, luckily the Robo and Observer's out. So those Widow Mines will be getting dealt with. Oh, that Observer was not placed correctly. I actually don't know where the Observer even is right now. But,
yeah.
Oh, this is going to escalate. This is going to escalate. Dream just mounting the pressure here. He's going for broke right now.
How did 3 of these Widow Mines, out of 3 Widow Mines, 2 of them went into the assimilator, didn't hit anything. 1 Widow Mine left on the natural, gets an adept. This is the problem, right? You're just getting a little bit behind as a Astrea. You're just kind of dealing with the current threat rather than, while the previous threat is still active. It just means, there he forgot a Widow Mine for a moment or two, so little things like that, they do add up. Now the Observer should be able to get in position before any more Widow Mine shots. Well, maybe not, actually. He's not going to be able to fire again.
Oh, just barely.
Okay, this game is tense, Pig.
Oh my god, again! He's round 17 of the Widow Mine drop. It never ends.
Oh, he gets it. Astrea, I love the face cam. He just is not phased at all.
He's been here before, man. He's been here many times before, and it's not ending. It's getting out of control. It's getting out of control. Dream needs to stabilize. He needs to stabilize soon.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, right? If you don't stop this, it just keeps happening. Like I say, if you're still dealing with the previous threat when the next one comes in, you're just behind. You'll never get into a good position. Dream is off and away. Obviously, equal work is good for a Terran who has mules on his side. He's off to a Ghost Academy as well already. Moving into that, of course, there is Colossi on the map, so it's intriguing that he's going to just again bypass any sort of Viking play. But that's something, like we said earlier, that Dream is kind of known for.
Yeah, Widow Mine there does grab 2 probes. It's a lot of Widow Mines. They haven't got crazy probe kills overall, but it's all of the distraction. It's keeping Astrea pinned, so he can't macro correctly his units. Like, resource-wise, look at that. Hey, that's good for Protoss. No, it's not, though, because Dream has been off the back of this. He's had 0 defense. Everything's been focused on his macro. He's got great upgrades. He's even adding ship weapons, which makes us think, hey, he's actually going to go Vikings this time eventually, as Astrea uses the Colossus friendly fire to actually manage to hit that Widow Mine without detection. A fancy maneuver from Astrea, but 4 probes going down, not what he wanted.
Fancy it from Dream, right? Because he target fired the sentry, so he got the sentry kill and splashed for the probe. So max value out of that last Widow Mine there. Yeah, like you say, everything is being focused on macro from Dream and Astrea. What doesn't show on that resource loss tab is all the lost mining time from pulling probes again and again and again, right? He's had to pull some mineral lines multiple times over. Look at those spikes in favor of Dream. That's just all of the time Astrea having to move a mineral line away from mining. And there's still just units around right now. Just this drop, cleaning out a pylon, cleaning up vision, giving Dream options for later in this game as to where he can move, where he can drop into. That's his current goal as you go see Widow Mines into the 4th base again. Pig, it just never ends! No!
Oh no! Ow! Oh my god, 13 probes. His natural is empty, which I imagine means there was another drop in there a moment ago. I mean, Dream is just all over Astrea right now. He is just non-stop Widow Mine explosions. And we've talked about players clawing their way back into the game in this series. I don't know. It feels like Dream is so well set up to take a 4th and just parade across this map. He's got so much money, so much more supply, and Astrea here just barely struggling to hang on.
It really goes to show, right? Because it's not like Astrea can't defend multi-pronged aggression. He did an amazing job of it last game when behind, right? It's just this time he fell behind, and trying to scramble the defense when you're already behind that little bit more in terms of just where your army position is. It's so difficult to do. Finally, he's going to get cannons up in mineral lines. The Dream is already here, and I love this. This is not what Dream did previously, right? Finally, Dream just brings everything at once, and at the very least tests the waters for what he might be able to get done. Doesn't see a way to go up the ramp, fair enough. It's Ramanda's side, but he loads up 4 medevacs, and because his entire army is out here, he gives himself the options to make plays like this Doom drop.
DT Blink is on the way, as well as the second Robo. Astrea going to get set up towards Disruptors and Blink DTs, the units that he excels with. He's taking a 5th in the bottom left side of the map at the exact same moment. And just a little Marine Marauder Widowmine poke there. The Zealots not wanting to get baited. In comes a big drop. The Phoenix did spot this and do a lot of damage to some of those. 1 medevac does fall. You don't want to lose those Phoenix, though. As the attack comes in on the front at the same time, Dream is just going to collapse on this.
Yeah, he's going to come in from 2 sides. The Disruptors are in a lot of trouble as he tries to chase them down. EMPs to try and help. The army on the right side just isn't dying either. The probes get blown up by the Widowmine, and these Colossi Pig, they are not safe. The last Disruptor for the moment going down. I think there's one out the front somewhere, but this is just uncontrolled. 22 probes have fallen. Can the Zealots do anything on the other side of the map? I'm going to go ahead and say probably very little, as Dream is still dealing damage over here. Robo unpowered, that means, of course, any further disruption in Colossus production is halted for the moment, and the Zealots really are not doing enough at all. Astrea looks as though he might be out of this series.
Great positioning by Dream. The way he did that little Widowmine Marauder poke down on the 4th base, distracted there, came in with the drop, and then while Dream was reacting to it, we just saw this massive dive in the front. That was awesome play by Dream. He gets so much damage, he completely resets the Protoss army count. Somehow Astrea's got 66 probes still alive, which impressive considering, but that's his army. That's it on the screen. It's like, you know, a Disruptor, 6 Stalkers. He's going to send DTs, 1 into each base, trying to find some damage. But he's struggling so hard to deal with these Widowmines, and I think maybe we could track this back to not building extra observers earlier in the game, or a few extra defensive units, maybe being a tad too greedy. But Dream has ran away with the momentum here in this final game.
It's amazing how different similar styles can look from game 2 to game 3, right? Like you say, you just get Astrea kind of on the back foot, and all of a sudden, he's really just can't deal with any of this as well as he dealt with it last time around. Last time, Dream threw away his advantage trying to play like this. And this time, a couple of alterations in exactly how he played it, but overall just looked way better, and looked like Astrea had no real hopes of holding this off at all. Units in the main base, they're obviously going to hunt down reinforcements, probes. Obviously at this stage you can take down the production as well. There are some SCVs falling across the map, but does it matter in comparison to the amount of probes that continue to fall off the face of Ramanda's side? No, it does not. Dream was everywhere on this map, and he takes a 2-1 victory to finally get